Have you ever wondered why some people rise to the top of the industry but suddenly go silent about what they've seen? Why do the same scandals, symbols, and tragedies repeat, yet no one ever really names name? Today, we're going to talk about something people whisper about the industry oath and the industry plant. So, what is it you think the people believe the oath is? Let me explain what it really is in case you are unclear. We know that there are rumors about blood pacts, secret rooms, coded rituals, but underneath the sensational stories, there's something very real, a culture of silence. In plain sight, it looked like NDAs, contracts, PR agreements. Behind the scenes, it feels like an initiation. We're told if you want access, you play by the rules. If you want the platform, you give up your freedom to speak. But that's the first layer of the oath. Silence in exchange for opportunity, right? But there's another layer people rarely talk about. At least I have yet to hear. It's not just about paper contracts, it's energy contracts. Fame isn't free. Every click, every stream, every controversy generates emotional energy. That energy feeds the system. The oath is not always spoken aloud, but it's implied. Keep the machine running, even if it costs you your authenticity. And the higher up you go, the heavier the price can become. Now, how the oath gets inside you, how is it that they become so aligned with it, so aligned with the industry? This is where it gets psychological. At first, the rules are external: lawyers, managers, labels. But over time, they move inside your head. You start asking yourself, if I speak, will I be blacklisted? If I post this, will I lose everything? That's when the oath isn't on paper anymore. It's in your mind. That's how powerful systems survive. They train you to silence yourself. What about the collective oath? Here's the part that most people miss. It's not just celebrities who are part of the oath. We are too. When we keep feeding our attention, outrage, and money into a system we know is exploitative, we click the headlines, we share the scandals, we stream the songs, and we unknowingly power the very machine we criticize. That's the collective oath. The system runs because we keep consenting with our energy. But there is a way out. The breaking of the oath doesn't always mean exposing secrets or quitting your career overnight. Sometimes it simply means telling the truth when you're asked, choosing authenticity over approval, protecting your peace, your art, and your soul. When you withdraw your energy, the machine loses power. That's how you reclaim your sovereignty. So the next time you hear someone whisper about the industry oath, remember, it's not always a literal ritual. It's a system of silence, exchange, and consent. And the real power is in the recognizing where you've been participating and choosing to step back. Because the moment you stop feeding the machine, you start feeding yourself. That's when your voice, your art, and your purpose becomes untouchable. If this resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it, right? Let's go on a little further. It's as if artists just don't appear out of nowhere. No grind, no mixtapes, no story, just boom, they're everywhere. And at the same time, other artists talk about signing their soul away or taking some kind of oath to get in. Today we're going to get to or to break this down, right? No hype, no fluff. So let's talk about the industry oath and the industry plants. Two sides of the same system. The oath is the silent contract. It's you agreeing, sometimes even without knowing it, to protect the system that's protecting you. It can be an NDA, a clause in a contract, or just an understanding. Don't expose what happens here or you're out. You trade freedom of speech for access. You trade authenticity for exposure. And once you're in deep, speaking out can cost you your career or even worse. Let's talk about the industry plants. That's the term for someone the system handpicks and they fast track. They don't get famous by accident. They're positioned, they're funded, they're marketed and protected before you even know their name. They're not always evil. Sometimes they're just talent chosen by gatekeepers. But the key is they skip the grind because they're already aligned with the system. And often they're seen as safe. They won't break the oath because they were born into it. And let's talk about how the oath and plants work together. Now, this is where it connects. The oath creates a culture of silence. The plant fills the silence with a controlled narrative. While the public thinks they're discovering an artist naturally, the system is placing someone who will keep its secrets. It's like a chessboard. Some pieces fight to get in, some pieces are placed. All of them are expected to follow the same invisible rules. What's the psychological game in all of this? The industry doesn't just sign your music, it signs your image, your message, your silence. The plant doesn't just release songs, they release safe ideas. And if you're an outsider, you're forced to either play by the rules or get shut out. That's why the oath isn't always spoken. It's a vibe. It's the room you walk into where everyone knows what not to say, right? But you don't have to be an industry plant or take the oath to create impact. The digital age is making gatekeepers less powerful. Authenticity travels. Truth resonates. It may be a slower climb, but it's a freer one. And for us, the viewers, the listeners, the supporters, we can choose to feed energy into real voices instead of manufactured ones, right? So when you hear the industry oath or someone's called an industry plant, no, it's not just gossip. It's a system, a machine built to protect itself. Whenever you hear about systemic anything, that is telling you it's a system in place, but it's designed to protect itself. Machines only work if people keep giving them power. If you take your attention back, support authenticity, and never forget, fame without freedom is just another kind of cage. And because fame doesn't just happen, it's engineered. The artists just appear out of nowhere, you know? And have you noticed how the ones who break through almost never speak about what's really going on behind those scenes? That's not an accident. That's a system, right? Most people think that the industry oath is just gossip about secret societies, but at its core, it's a culture of compliance. It's the invisible handshake that says, we'll give you power, but you will protect the system that gave it to you. On paper, again, it's the NDAs, the morality clauses, image control, but it's always much deeper. There's a psychological and spiritual trade. You stop being just an artist and become an asset. Your image becomes currency. Your silence becomes part of the price of admission. And here's the thing. You don't always realize you agreed to it. Sometimes it's a slow conditioning. Sometimes it's an actual conversation in a back office. But the effect is the same. You're in, but your freedom, that stays at the door. And people throw the term industry plant around like an insult. But it's not always about talent. It's about placement. An industry plant is someone the system positions, not because they're evil, but because they're safe. They've been vetted. They won't break the oath. They'll carry the narrative the system wants out there. That's why you see them skip the grind. They're not rising from the streets. They're being lifted by an invisible hand. Their success is a mirror. showing you what's rewarded when you comply. How does the oath and the plants feed each other? This is the part people never connect. The oath and the plants have or are two halves of the same power structure. The oath keeps insiders silent, and the plants fills the silence with controlled messages. While the public thinks they're discovering an artist organically, the system is actually programming the culture through the artist. The plant becomes the vessel for trends, language, and symbolism. The oath becomes the leash that keeps others from exposing it. It's not just about the artist, it's about shaping the collective mind of millions through a few controlled voices. The industry doesn't just take your art, it reshapes your identity. It trains you to self-censor. It rewards you for echoing the right messages and punishes you for going off script. That is why the oath is powerful, because after a while, it's not a rule you're following, it's a reflex you internalized. And on a spiritual level, this is where the cost comes in. Fame runs on energy, your energy, the public's energy. Every scandal, every tragedy, every beef feeds the system. The oath ensures that even pain is monetized. And the plant, they're the delivery system for the next cycle. The machine only works if we keep feeding it. As we feed it, our attention is currency, silence is currency, and our energy is currency. You can choose where you spend yours. You can choose to support artists who build their own platforms. You can choose to stop rewarding the system that's feeding on you. And if you're in the system, you can choose to walk away, to speak out, to create your own. It's harder, it's slower, but it's freer. And freedom is worth more than a manufactured crown. People just don't come out calling themselves a king. It is a manufactured crown to get the collective to buy into it. It's manipulation. It's trickery. Bob Marley, Simone, Tupac didn't just enter the game looking for validation from the system. They were already rooted in something deeper. I'm drinking hot tea, guys. Bob Marley was steeped in Rastafarian principles, anti-colonial thought, and liberation music before the mainstream noticed him. Nina Simone came from the civil rights struggle. Her music was already protest, not just entertainment. Tupac was raised by Black Panther parents. Activism and systemic critique were part of his foundation. That grounding means fame couldn't redefine them. The industry could package them, but not own them. See, their DNA was for movement building, not just music. Some artists are designed for the stage, others are designed for systems change. Marley's songs weren't just hits, they were global anti-colonial anthems. Simone's performances were not just shows, they were calls to arms. Tupac's verses were not just bars, they were a political education for millions of young people. This isn't marketing, it's genetic assignment. They were transmitters of collective consciousness. The industry can market a sound, but it can't market a soul assignment. Their allegiance was to the people, not the machine. The unspoken deal in the industry oath is, we'll elevate you, but you'll give us your silence, your image, and your loyalty. But these three artists reversed it and said, we'll take the platform, but our loyalty stays with our people. And that's why you see them constantly in conflict with their own labels, managers, and gatekeepers. They use the machine to broadcast their message, but refuse to let the machine rewrite it. They could not be neutralized without conflict. When an artist is easily controlled, the system rewards them with longevity. That says a lot. When an artist refuses control, The system either isolates, discredits them, or destroys them. Now, Marley was repeatedly monitored, shot at, and even died of a suspiciously untreated illness. Simone was exiled, labeled unstable, and pushed out of the mainstream. Tupac was arrested, discredited, and ultimately killed. Multiple attempts before it succeeded. This is what happens when a messenger can't be turned into an asset. The system has to make them a warning instead. What's the irony of it all? Because they refuse to be assets, their message outlived them. There's some musicians and entertainers that were on fire in their day, but yet you don't hear a lot of their music even passed down to the next generation. Marley's music still ignites freedom movements worldwide. Simone's songs are still civil rights soundtracks. Tupac verses still mentor new generations. Their purpose wasn't to win the industry, it was to seed something bigger: consciousness, courage, and self-determination. The deeper truth. This is why the industry couldn't truly own them. You can own a contract, but you can't own a calling. These individuals were called to this. They were born into this. It is in their DNA. You can own a contract. You can market a product, but you can't market a profit. You can manufacture influence, but you can't manufacture destiny. They were born to change systems, not just sing about them. And because they put their people above the machine could never fully swallow them. You can market a product, you can market an image, but you can't market a soul assignment. That's why those artists could never be turned into full-time assets of the system. They took the platform but said our loyalty stays with our people. They weren't just making records, they were making movements. Their voices weren't just entertainment, they were alarms, wake-up calls, blueprints for freedom. The industry could distribute their music, but it could never own their mission. But here's something we have to remember, and this is where compassion comes in. Every artist isn't born to break systems, and that's okay. Some artists are here to soothe, to heal, to celebrate beauty, or to simply give us moments of joy. Their artistry is the gift, and that's their calling. Every soul has a different assignment. Some will build systems, some will break systems, some will simply inspire us through their craft. And all of that is sacred when it's authentic. That's the key. When that's who they are. The danger comes when a system tries to make everyone fit the same mold. When it punishes disruptors and rewards only compliance. But the truth is, you can't clone purpose. You can't counterfeit calling. And you can't market a soul assignment. So when you look at your favorite artist, don't just ask, why are they speaking out? Ask instead, what is their assignment? What gift are they giving? Because knowing your assignment and honoring it is the real revolution. There are oftentimes, individuals, everyone doesn't have to be a revolutionist. If you have everyone in the world a revolutionist, it's going to be fights everywhere. We don't want that. That's not what God wants. That's not what peace and harmony and unity looks like. So there are those, they're just not into it. They're not built for it. They don't desire it because that's not their calling. And that is okay. They offer the world their gift to enjoy, right? Let me expand a little bit. Not every artist is meant to change the world. And not every so-called revolutionary is really trying to change the world. Some are just moved by purpose. Others are moved by profit. Today, we're talking about soul assignments. The difference between being called to disrupt systems and using disruption to gain support. There are very phony revolutionists. It's not in their DNA. But what they will do is call a revolution when they want something. And the moment they get it, they're back in line. And the industry is aware of it. But oftentimes the industry has to address that publicly in a way to say, wait a minute, we've taken care of you. You have quite a bit. And now all of a sudden you want to be our equal? We can't have that. So we're going to make an example of you. Because the ones that are moved by profit, even oftentimes they were compliant for years and years. Oftentimes they were gatekeepers who decide they played their role so well that now they believe they should be a partner. But today, again, we're talking about soul assignments. So every artist that you hear that is fighting their label and they're coming out publicly, if they've been in if they've been in the industry for years, decades, and they were silent, it's not that they had an epiphany. They're moved by profit. Somehow they believe what they have is not enough. They want more. But they knew what everything was about for years and for decades until they realized the cost of fame. And so now they'll come out publicly and they'll critique the system because they want other people to buy into it so they can get what they want. But the moment they get what they want, they're not giving back to the collective. So oftentimes the collective questions, all of us, they know that they're telling the truth because they want it on the inside. But why are you telling the truth now? Because you want to be an equal, you want to be on the same platform at the same level as your handlers, as those that are higher up. And now you want to use us to say, fight with me, fight for me, I need help. And then we come and help you and then you offer nothing back? No. And the industry addresses that. Because you can fake controversy too. You can fake activism, but you can't fake divine assignment. Every soul comes here with a blueprint. Some people are meant to heal through sound. Some are meant to challenge struggles. Some are simply meant to create beauty so the world remembers what peace feels like, And that's your soul assignment, the thing that keeps calling you even when no one is watching. Then you have the few chosen whose DNA carries rebellion with grace. The Bob Marley, Nina Simone, Tupac. They didn't chase disruption. Disruption chased them. Again, they took that platform, but they weren't loyal to the system. But not everyone wearing a rebellion means it. So when you see someone coming out after decades and they're talking about the industry, their feelings were hurt because they were in it a long time. But they believed that they were bigger than the system and they can outsmart the system. And the system let them know, we took care of you. We took care of you our way. But you did get a lot of attention. And if you didn't market that on your own, that's your problem. If you live beyond your means, that's your problem. If you didn't work real hard, that's your problem. You kept signing contracts over and over with us. And you knew what we were. So now, someone either put it in your head or you're realizing you want out. And you want to say, when I leave, I want to take everything I've built. But we have to remind you, we built you. Now you want to say, but my talent did it. We're telling you, your talent alone couldn't have reached the level that you are now. So you want your masters? Fight for it. You want a better contract? Just don't sign the next one with us then. They have to wake up. Those individuals couldn't fully be controlled because their allegiance wasn't for sale. They were the type of spirits the system fears because they teach the audience to think, to question. Some study what genuine disruptors do, and then they imitate the pattern for attention, right? They talk smack maybe a little bit about the industry, not about the industry itself. They'll talk about a fellow artist, right? And they'll say that fellow artist is part of the system and whatever. And they'll post what sounds like woke, They'll speak against the system through the artists, but sign the same deals behind closed doors. That's why I say when you see someone that's been in for years and decades and decide to speak out, their feelings were hurt because the machine makes you. So why would the machine give you your masters? Why do you think you're entitled to it? Yes, it was your talent, but it wasn't your studio. It wasn't your handler. You didn't pay for that. You didn't pay for the security. You didn't pay for the private rooms. All of these things we gave you in order for the world to take interest in you. We gave you the sound. We gave you the beats. We put them together, and all you did was rap and sing. And you believe that entitles you to your masters. It does not. It entitles you to the fame we gave you, and you didn't use the fame for yourself. That's all of your problems. You're uneducated in the system. You don't even read your contracts. You don't even have a copy of your contract at home. You'll make $1 million and spend $500,000 on jewelry. You're the right type of person for the system, because they know that you're going to need to continuously sign those contracts, those 360 deals, simply because you're not a critical thinker. You're uneducated. Never have they seen an individual who makes music go to college at the same time. Your time is free once you're out of the studio and on the road and on the stage, but you choose not to educate yourself. You choose to get high. You choose to take pictures and place them on social media. You exploit your fame. We made you, and you're mad at us. You don't take a class to understand contracts. None of you go back to college. None of you go back. None of you go and further your education, and those without high school diplomas can go back and get a GED, and we know that, and you're ripe for the picking. That tells us you won't be very much. You may get upset because your money is being spent too fast, but that's not our problem. We reinvest ours in our children, in our businesses, and you're mad at us because we know how to do business and make money off of our product. You are a product. Don't get upset when we make a product and sell it for profit. Have you created a product and sold it for profit? Have you created a platform to build once you decide your contract is over? No. So don't get mad at us. We are a business. You are a product. We're not entrepreneurs. We're businesses. We're enterprises. We're industries. And we come with a lot of experience. The difference between us and you is simply because we stand on those before us. We take that knowledge. We keep the paperwork. When you lay hold, you have no paperwork. No one is even educated enough to understand it. So you're your own bad deal. You're your own 360 contract. You're just a minimized version of what we are. The only thing is, you don't have a product, not even your gift. You don't even turn your gift into a product. We're into making money. And that's what we've done, and you're angry at us. If you would go and educate yourself, you would understand that. Street knowledge will never compare to what we have. You don't connect with those that came before us, not even your ancestors. We told you that was devil worship. Loving and listening to your mama that passed on, we told you that anything you hear isn't your mama, that's the devil. But yet, we use magic. And we gave you our magic to participate in, because our magic is a system that protects itself, and we are itself. Your spiritual systems is to protect you and yours, and we convince you that yours is demonic, so ours exploit you. Again, they speak against the system, but they sign the same deals behind closed doors. They stage authenticity because real authenticity sells now. You know those that go on Vlad TV. They weaponize people's pain as branding. And the system loves that because it creates the illusion of freedom while keeping control intact. So we're going to create platforms for you all to go to and speak your truth. The person with the platform is going to make all the money. And once again, your product, your gift of gab doesn't benefit you. What you're giving is nothing compared to how your message is going to play on long after you're dead. Someone else is going to be making money off of it. You're not even wise enough to start your own platform because you don't want the grind. You don't want a slow start. You want fast money. Your hood, your ghetto. That's what we think about you. You only know fast money. We know that. We can tell you we're going to give you 1 million right now, but give us a couple of years more and you can have 1 billion. And you think you got something, but you never get to the end of the agreement. If you really think we're going to give you $1 billion, we will never be at a loss. That's not how business works. That's not how capitalism works. And as long as you do not create your own platforms, you continue to blow through your money, you don't sacrifice, don't complain. That's how rebellion becomes marketable and empty, broke, right? You'll always know a real disruptor by what they risk. Real ones lose money, they lose deals, they lose sponsorships. Fake ones gain all of that after every outrage moment. Real disruptors speak when it costs them. Pretenders speak when it profits them. One moves energy, the other manipulates it. But this doesn't mean every quiet artist is fake or every mainstream artist, bear with me, and every mainstream artist is sold. Some were never called to fight. They were called to create, to heal, to bring light. Their artistry itself is sacred music, sacred service. They remind us that harmony is also resistance in a world built on chaos. The machine survives by turning everything, even rebellion, into product. That's why you see imitation activism everywhere. But a soul assignment can't be cloned. It burns different. When purpose speaks, it doesn't need a marketing plan. It moves hearts. And once people feel that energy, no algorithm can bury it. So the next time someone claims to be a disruptor, don't just listen to their words. Watch their fruit. Do they lift people or drain them? Do they risk everything or just rehearse struggle for applause? And if you are creative or a creator, ask yourself, what's my assignment? Am I building the system, breaking it, or simply beautifying it? Because everyone does things a little bit different, right? Because even building the system has value. When they're real, just remember, you can market a product, you can market an image, but you can't market a soul assignment. When purpose speaks, it doesn't whisper, it doesn't pitch, it doesn't slide a business card across the table. It vibrates, it breaks the air open, it rearranges the molecules in the room. When purpose speaks, it doesn't need a marketing plan because purpose isn't trying to sell you anything. Purpose isn't chasing clicks. Purpose is a current, not a campaign. Algorithms can bury it. They can bury content. They can shadow ban hashtags, but they can mute even a person's voice. They can censor it. They can censor a post. They can cancel a platform, but they cannot bury frequency because frequency travels outside of the wires, outside of servers, outside of the grid. It travels heart to heart, soul to soul, dream to dream. Every great mover of history, Marley, Simone, Tupac, Mandela, Harriet, Malcolm X, They didn't have a marketing team for their assignment. The world felt them before the world understood them. Their words didn't trend, their energy did. And once people feel that energy, no algorithm can bury it. You can block a broadcast, but you cannot block a heartbeat. You can kill a messenger, yes, but you cannot kill a vibration that's been released. Purpose is the thing the system can't counterfeit. It's not a sound bite, it's a seed. And once a seed like that is planted, it grows underground until one day it cracks concrete. That's why the system tries so hard to market rebellion, to make fake versions of it, because it knows real purpose can't be controlled. It can't be manufactured, only channeled. So they take what people do anyway and they channel it as a product. But here's the secret most people miss. That same energy is in you. It's in your art, your story, your children, your choices, your family, your career. When you align with it, your life stops being content and becomes a signal. And signals reach places platforms never will. When purpose speaks through you, you stop worrying about going viral because you realize you already are. You're viral across time, across ancestors, across generations. The algorithm of spirit is bigger than the algorithm of social media. So keep moving, keep speaking, keep building. Because when purpose speaks, it doesn't die, it travels. And somebody somewhere will feel it and rise to the occasion. Rise to the sound of it, to the feel of it. Acknowledge it. Across ancestors, across generations, the algorithm of spirit is bigger than the algorithm of social media. I'm talking about the difference between what humans build and what the soul carries. Social media algorithms are built to measure what's trending right now. They track clicks, views, reactions, things that exist for a moment and fade as soon as something newer appears. It's a loop. But the algorithm of spirit works on eternity. It measures resonance, not reach. It tracks vibration, not views. It's not asking how many people saw it. It's asking who was changed by it. When something is born from spirit, a song, a word, a story, a movement, it carries the energy of every ancestor who ever fought for truth, and every soul yet unborn who will inherit that truth. That's what across ancestors, across generations means. It's transmission, not trend. Bob Marley's words still echo because they weren't made for an algorithm. Algorithms are part of a loop. It just pulls in what is trending. His words were made for alignment. Nina Simone's voice still shakes people who weren't even alive when she sang, because spirit doesn't obey timestamps. Tupac's message still raises goosebumps because it wasn't programmed. It was prophesized. The algorithm of spirit isn't controlled by code. It is carried by consciousness. It doesn't rely on hashtags. It relies on hearts. It doesn't depend on reposts. It depends on remembrance. Whatever is reposted, once the algorithm no longer shows that creator, those reposts mean nothing. So when you move with purpose, when your work comes from that place of truth, you're not fighting for likes. You're creating lineage. Your words join the same current that carried your ancestors' prayers and will one day whisper to your descendants' dreams. And that's why I say the algorithm of spirit is bigger than the algorithm of social media, because one fades with a scroll, the other ripples through time. When I say across ancestors, across generations, the algorithm of spirit is bigger than the algorithm of social media, I mean this. Social media tracks visibility, spirit tracks vibration. Algorithms chase what's trending. Spirit remembers what's timeless. When something is born from spirit, a song, a message, a performance, it doesn't just echo in the moment. It echoes through bloodlines, through memory, through everything we are connected to but can't see. That's why you'll get many of the wealthy, the elite, the superstars, women want their DNA for children, not just for child support, because they believe that that individual's DNA will reproduce in the child. But yet, the world teaches, the mainstream teaches that building on your ancestors is a devilish thing to do. If that be the cost of society, why is it? Yes, these are fanboys and fangirls and opportunists everywhere. They want the seed for more than money. They need that seed in their bloodline. And they'll cherish that seed because they'll look for that seed to rebuild on their ancestor. Even after the individual is gone and becomes an ancestor, they'll say, oh, that person is just like their father. That person is just like their mother. That person has businesses and became a lawyer just like their father, a doctor just like their mother. This is what it's believed is in the DNA. That's why Bob Marley's voice still rises in protests he never lived to see. That's why Nina Simone's piano still playing movements she dreamed about. That's why Tupac's words still march through speakers like sermons. You have sports influencers, superstars, Kobe Bryant, Bill Russell. That's why their spirits still live in locker rooms and playgrounds where young players whisper their names before they shoot, because their game wasn't just physical, it was philosophical. It was spirit in motion. They taught discipline as devotion and excellence as prayer. Their legacy isn't just in trophies, it's in the mentality they transferred. Kobe's Mamba mindset was spiritual muscle memory, proof that purpose turns pain into precision. Bill Russell's leadership wasn't about fame, it was about foundation, teaching generations what dignity under pressure looks like. That's what I mean when I say across ancestors, across generations. You can study a science, an industry, a profession so much until your body develops the spirit of it. And you can pass that through your DNA to the next member of your family. Although you didn't create it, you are part of it so deeply, it resonated so deeply with you, it became part of your DNA. And then you end up seeing a niece, nephew, grandchild, and they take on that experience because they're meant to continue it. So it may not always be your child. So you don't have to pressure your child. The one that's born for that purpose will rise for it. They'll be willing. They're not forced. Because purpose doesn't retire, it reincarnates. It reappears in new faces, new voices, new seasons. And the algorithm of spirit, the one built by God and ancestors and time, it keeps circulating that same energy until the mission is complete. Social media can bury a post, but it can't bury a vibration that was born for eternity. It can't mute purpose that's encoded in someone's DNA. God will give it another platform. Because what's divine doesn't depend on devices. And that's why the algorithm of spirit will always be greater, because it doesn't need to trend to transform. You don't have to reshape it to make it fit. And you could take your gift and market it for a thing that is not designed to be marketed to, right? That's why prophets cannot be marketed. Prophets speak. You can't market God. You can't put them on billboards. And the algorithm of spirit, the one built by God and ancestors in time that continues to circulate, It means divine purpose doesn't die when a person dies. It transfers, it travels, it reincarnates through new vessels who pick up the unfinished work. That's why certain energies keep showing up through different people in different eras, but with the same fire. It's the same mission wearing new faces, the same truth speaking new languages, the same courage standing in new generations. God writes purpose like a relay, not a solo race. Every soul runs their leg of the journey and passes the torch to the next. Why do you believe all across ethnicities, races, nations, countries, and movements, they make the individual that is the most prolific, the most inspiring, they take them out? Because it is believed you slow down that energy. You slow it down. They're making too much of an impact. It's courage standing in new generations. They may have left the court, the stage, or the mic, but the assignment didn't retire with them. It transferred into whoever still feels the call to rise, to build, to create, to speak truth, no matter the cost. That's the algorithm of spirit. It doesn't operate on likes or timelines. It operates on lineage. It circulates energy the way blood circulates life, feeding new purpose into the body of humanity until healing, justice, and balance are finally restored. But you have a certain class, a certain race of people who believes that healing is a bad thing. Justice is an evil thing, and balance is forbidden. It is believed that those things will be their downfall. And they like being on top all by themselves. They enjoy the privileges of the imbalance, the injustice. It makes room for them and theirs, right? So when you feel that pull inside you, that urge to make, to teach, to tell the truth, that's not random. That's ancient data being reactivated in your spirit. That's your ancestors whispering, it's your turn now. Because the mission continues until the vibration fulfills what it was sent here to do. And no system, no algorithm, no industry can stop what was written by God, powered by ancestors, and timed by destiny. Think of an algorithm not as code, but as a pattern of memory and intelligence. Every click of data on a website builds a profile. Every prayer, story, sacrifice, and lesson your ancestors lived builds a profile of your spirit. Your father, that black man from the deep south, didn't just work in the fields. He was writing data into you with every story, every warning, every bit of wisdom. And then that sharecropper, that labor worker, that cook, that maid, even if you feel they passed too soon, the code is still left and still running in you. It shows up in the way you think, how you move, what you refuse to tolerate, and why you speak for others. We hear oftentimes, oh, this one is just like grandma. Oh, this one is just like such and such, right? That's the spiritual algorithm. See, God supplies the architecture, the soul, the capacity, the assignment. Ancestors supplied the input, the resilience, the wisdom, the survival codes, the prayers. Time supplies the processing. Each generation updates the program with new experiences, new revelations, and new skills. So by the time you arrive, you're not starting from zero. You are running a system thousands of years in the making. That's why some things you just know without being taught. Why certain injustices ignite you. Why certain callings feel bigger than your lifetime. Your ancestors' stories are not just memories. They're part of your spiritual source code. And every time you tell them to someone else, you're copying the code into another soul. That's how the spiritual algorithm replicates heart to heart, story to story, life to life. And God alone is the one who designed it to keep running until the mission is complete. until what your ancestors prayed for you, is fully manifested through the descendants who dare to act. That's why when you speak, it's not just you. It's the field worker. It's the freedom fighter. It's the women who kept the house together. It's every unnamed ancestor who survived so you could have a voice. You're not just telling stories. You're transmitting code. You're updating the algorithm. You're fulfilling the assignment they began. Your gifts didn't appear out of thin air. They're a download. They're living code, built by God, built by your ancestors in time itself. Whether you have an ear for music or love of poetry, that may have come from your mother or your brother or your uncle. Every melody, every rhythm you feel is an echo of their voices, their vibrations, their joy. Your entrepreneurship, your hustle, your vision, your ability to create something from nothing lives in your bloodstream. The natural gifts in art is part of an ancestor's DNA. It's the way their hands move, the way they saw beauty in everything, the way they could shape raw material into something alive. The keen insight, the ability to see patterns, the instinct to build and break chains, that came from your father maybe. A black man, an Irish man, an Italian man, a Latino man, who spent their early years in the field instead of the classroom, in a factory instead of a classroom. It gave you wisdom born because of their survival. Your eyes trained to see both the trap and the escape route. How do you know what you don't know? It is in your DNA. That's not a mystery. You're not a coincidence. You are a continuation, a living algorithm of spirit, a pattern of resilience and creativity encoded long before you were born. Every time you create, you speak, and you teach, you're not just expressing yourself. You're running the code that your ancestors wrote, and you're updating the program for the next generation. And you're proof that the algorithm of spirit is bigger than any algorithm of social media. I am going to leave it here. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.